Good afternoon, everyone. I am Delegate Janelle Wilkins, Chair of the Ways and Means Committee. Today is March 11th, and we are beginning the bill hearings for the day. The first bill is Delegate Edelson, House Bill 1245.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, great to see you all. For the record, I'm Delegate Mark Edelson, here to present House Bill 1245, the Baltimore First Responders Child Care Support and Accessibility Program. This bill builds upon a pilot program already underway in Baltimore City that supports police officers with access to child care designed for the realities of public safety work. HB 1245 expands the proven model so that firefighters, paramedics, and other first responders can access the same support. First responders protect our communities 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Police officers, firefighters, and paramedics regularly work overnight shifts, 24-hour tours, weekends, and holidays. This schedule is essential for public safety, but it creates significant challenges for members who are raising families. Most child care options are built around a traditional 9-to-5 schedule, which simply does not work for many first responders. As a result, many are forced to rely on complicated and often expensive child care arrangements just to be able to report for duty. This bill helps to address that problem. The current Child Care Support and Accessibility Program, pilot program, launched on August 1, 2024 in Baltimore. It provides a monthly child care allowance and child care navigation services for employees of the Baltimore Police Department, helping them find vetted providers who can accommodate non-traditional work hours. So far, the program has seen extremely strong engagement. 94 families receive direct child care allowances, 417 additional employees access child care support services, and in total, more than 511 Baltimore Police Department employees have used the program in some capacity. What is most critical about it is how the lack of this program would impact our officers. It is reaching early career officers, the group most at risk of leaving the profession, and the results are clear. In a recent survey, 52% of participants said they would have been likely or very likely to leave the department without the child care allowance. Among officers with less than 5 years of service, 60% said they would have been very likely to leave, and among officers with less than 3 years of service, that number rises to 100%. At the same time, the Baltimore City Fire Department continues to face staffing shortages. Units are relying heavily on overtime simply to meet minimum staffing levels. Expanding this program helps address a root cause of workforce instability. Under House Bill 1245, the program would expand to support 400 families each year, 200 from the Baltimore Police Department and 200 from the Fire Department and Emergency Medical Services. Families would receive an allowance of up to $250 per month per child, along with continued access to child care navigation and a vetted network of providers capable of supporting 24/7 and rotating shift schedules. The program would be funded through a $1.2 million child care allowance pool shared equally between the state of Maryland and the city of Baltimore, with a total administrative cost of $240,000. Participant feedback from the pilot has been overwhelmingly positive. 99% overall satisfaction, 96% say the financial support is the most valuable benefit. Supporting first responders in this way is not only a family issue, it is a public safety issue. Reliable child care improves attendance, reduces stress, and helps departments recruit and retain the professionals our communities depend on. This bill expands a program that is already working, addresses a documented workforce challenge, and supports the first responders who keep Baltimore safe. For these reasons, I respectfully request a favorable report on House Bill 1245, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Delegate, for bringing this bill. Colleagues, any questions? All right, seeing none, that ends the bill hearing on House Bill 1245. Thank you. Next bill we'll take up is House Bill 1305, Delegate Kaiser.
Madam Chair, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here today. Testifying on my behalf today is a Kabede, who's a senior public policy major at the University of Maryland, and she was my student in the fall of 2023 in my ethics class and did very well, and delighted to have her, and she's going to give the testimony, and I will answer questions if there are any. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chair Wilkins and esteemed members of the Ways and Means Committee, it is my pleasure to come before you and offer my testimony in favor of House Bill 1305, the State Child Welfare System's reporting. Students involved in the child welfare system frequently encounter substantial barriers to educational success. Placement changes often result in multiple school transitions, which can disrupt learning, delay enrollment, and cause students to lose academic progress. As a result, students in the foster care system are more likely to struggle academically. They may need specialized education services and often encounter challenges when graduating from high school or pursuing college education. Although these challenges are serious, data on foster youth in the educational system are often fragmented across agencies and difficult to analyze comprehensively. House Bill 1305 aims to improve how important information is collected and reported in two key ways. By adding comprehensive data, as well as by conducting a one-time study of best practices in other states. Addressing this first point, legislators receive key educational metrics through MSDE's report on K-12 education and MLSD's dashboard on college outcomes, but neither compares foster youth to their peers. Looking at the current report is a good example of this problem. Attached to our written testimony is a page of MSDE's report that shows the number of children who have been retained in a grade disaggregated by grade. While this gives us some insight into the outcomes of foster youth, it's incomplete because we do not know how it compares to other students. Without that context, policymakers cannot paint a complete picture where the support should be needed. House Bill 1305 would fix this by adding comparison data for the same metrics already collected and reported by MSDE and MLSD. To address the second point, this bill is designed to create a one-time study to identify best practices from other states, assess gaps in services, and recommend improvements in data collection and reporting. Specifically, it would also examine how schools and child welfare agencies in other states share data and coordinate services. In addition, the study would identify gaps in our current programs and barriers that students face. These recommendations should help the state create stronger policies and best support the educational success of students in foster care. With better data, legislators can spot patterns, evaluate what's working, and create policies that give foster youth a real chance to succeed. This bill isn't just about numbers. It's about making sure that we are continuously providing for all Maryland students the opportunity to thrive in school and life. I urge a favorable report on House Bill 1305. Thank you.
Nice job. Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Delegate Ebersol.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here. I have an author wife who's writing a book about foster youth right now and doing a lot of research. She has nephews and that have been through the foster program at various levels of success. You talked about data, and I want to know what data is out there. I heard you saying it's scarce. What else would you need? What could you add into that data that would really help us to get a good grip on what's going on with the foster program?
In some cases, Delegate Ebersol, thank you for that question. In some cases, the data has been collected by different agencies, whether it's MSDE, whether there's anything at DHS or other agencies, or the things that get collected or thrown into the MLDS. But the amount of time it takes to find all of it and to use it in a significant way. So I've reached out to two of our colleagues, Delegate Embry and Delegate Miracle North, who have foster youth bills related to education, and I asked them how hard it was, and thank you to Delegate Miracle North for replying back to me, and I'll just read part of her answer, just saying about the significant amount of time spent trying to find data on educational attainment for foster care youth. And for her to have a bill to advance foster youth education and to be so challenged to find the data, that's part of the problem. We need good data as legislators to make good decisions. And I think you said, excuse me, I think you said, Delegate Miracle North, having the specific data by age of exit would have allowed us to project the number of additional students likely to use a tuition waiver with much greater precision. So good data doesn't always lead us It's a good policy, but without it, we can't make good policy. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Delegate Ebersol.
Any other questions? All right, well, wonderful full job and congratulations on your studies. And seeing no other questions, that ends the bill hearing on House Bill 1305.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next bill we'll call is House Bill 1373, Delegate Martinez.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Ways and Means Committee. For the record, I am Delegate Ashanti Martinez, here to present House Bill 1373, State Department of Education Independent Regulatory Framework for After-School and Out-of-School Time Child Care Programs. This bill was by request from my good friend, Council Chair Crystal Oriata, and the bill, if established, would direct the State Department of Education to conduct a study and provide recommendations on establishing an independent regulatory framework for after-school programs in Maryland serving children 5 years of age or older. The study will examine the locations, populations, and specific needs of underserved children, as well as the unique challenges associated with expanding and establishing after-school programs across the state. Currently, there is a significant lack of equity in program availability, with wide variations in quality and access, often influenced by socioeconomic circumstances of schools and the families they serve. Upon completion, the study will provide recommendations on a number of important considerations, including staffing, background checks, emergency planning, parental notification and consent, health and safety standards, as well as more. For every child enrolled in an after-school program in Maryland, there are more than 3 on the wait list. That translates to hundreds of thousands of children throughout our state waiting for the opportunity to participate in one of these programs. This gap is particularly concerning given the broad and well-documented benefits of these programs. I myself was a participant in after-school programs, and I think a lot of that is what contributes to the brilliance that you see before you. In Maryland, more than 90% of parents support public funding for after-school programs, making this a widely supported and bipartisan issue. Research also shows that after-school programs reduce student dropout rates and juvenile crime while improving long-term academic and economic outcomes. They also provide meaningful supports for working parents by reducing stress and improving productivity. Even with limited capacity, Maryland's existing after-school programs consistently receive high marks for quality and effectiveness. I believe that reinforces their value as investments in our communities. By identifying gaps in the current system, the study authorized by this bill will help inform strategies to address disparities in access and expand opportunities for children across the state. This legislation represents an important next step towards ensuring that more Maryland families can benefit from high-quality after-school programs. In your packets, I know there's a letter of information from the department around the great intentions of the bill, how they align with a lot of their work, but they just unfortunately have so much work going on that they can't afford to do this without outside vendors. I think that there is an opportunity here for us to really boil down to what the issues are so that we can provide the best opportunities for our kids. And I think we can do that with existing resources. Their letter of information mentions that they're going to look at some things and come back with some stuff, but I ultimately think passing this bill just keeps them accountable for making sure that happens. And for those reasons, I would respectfully urge a favorable report on House Bill 1373. And I believe I have a virtual person on my panel. Councilmember Oriata should be, there we go.
All right. Thank you, Delegate. Ms. Ariana, please proceed.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councilman Crystal Oriata. I have the pleasure of chairing the Prince George's County Council. I want to thank Delegate Ashanti Martinez for his support and diligent work on this legislation. We just had a press conference here in Prince George's County talking about our roadmap towards universal child care. And one of the biggest roadblocks when we talk to providers is about there is no different set of standards. And one of the things that was so surprising to me when I met with our school system, even when it comes to after-school programs, when they move from one building to a new building, their programs are delayed by months because they have to go through a different process to make sure that their building is up to the standards, even though those children will be in that same school all day long. They are delayed with having their after-school care programs open up. So I know that's an unintended consequence of these standards. We know our school buildings are safe for our kids. We've done our due diligence. And so if our school systems aren't able to open up, look at the burden that's going to also happen with our small providers in our community. And so we know we want to do everything to provide opportunities for after school programs. And we need to make sure as a government, we're updating our processes in a way to ensure that we have those services in our jurisdictions. So I think this is a first great step so that we do it in a way that doesn't lower quality for our students, make sure that the standards we need are there, but we want to make sure that we do everything we can do to make sure that we increase opportunities for enrichment, after school activities, sports, tutoring programs. But we do that when we make sure that the standards make sense. So I think this is a common sense change that we can make. I hope that you all can vote favorably, and I thank you, Delegate Ashanti Martinez, for your steady leadership in making sure that this common sense question is answered. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman. And thank you very much, Delegate Martinez. And we have a question from Delegate Weems.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Delegate, thank you for bringing this bill, a very important bill, to our youth in this state. I wanted to let you know in District 39, we have a program that just started 2 years ago after school. Before that, there was a great amount of, I guess, children getting in trouble, et cetera, et cetera. So we found out since the program's been there that it's like 70% the incidents that weren't that favorable. So again, thank you. My question is, I say you started at 5 years and older. Is there like a limit, like 19 years old, or is it for students in school? What's the oldest you can be in? I know you said you started at 5 years old, I believe, in your testimony. So.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not particularly sure why we settled on just 5. I think it was mainly we're looking at school-age children, and so that's why we started at 5 and older. But if there are particular programs like you spoke of in your district that are showing great results and they're targeted to an older population, I think, you know, the bill is the committee's, and so you guys can alter it to make sure that that's included as well. You know, this was particularly interesting because I have a school being built in my district, Hyattsville Elementary, where they're at a swing space while the school is being, you know, rebuilt. They did not get the proper approvals for an after-school space that they had in their school building and are now not providing those services to many parents who really need them. And so I think looking at how we do after school is really, really important. I know, like I said, in the letter of information that was given by the department, they say they've done this work, they understand the issue, but we still are having the problems. And so this is my stab at trying to fix the problem that we see persistent.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Delegate Pastor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Delegate, for this bill, because we do need to have some things, some after-school programs. Let me ask you this, because you talked about your district. So if we look at all of the LEAs, all of the school systems in the state, the needs are going to be different. There'll be some things that are basic, but then there'll be some different ones. So would this group doing this study, or with MSDE looking at the framework, are they going to look at each area, sort of like the kinds of things with the consortium that is different in every LEA based on those needs? So are they going to look at or process what the needs are? And then I've heard you and your witness talk about standards. What are the standards for those programs? So are they going to look at what would be good for the districts, and then what kinds of standards, or just what are they going to do?
Yeah, so in the fiscal note, they do a good outline of all that the study by MSDE is supposed to have, and that includes investigate the regulatory barriers provided for after-school and out-of-time childcare programs faced by having to adhere to the same regulatory and licensing requirements adopted for full-day early childhood care centers, evaluate the unique needs of after-school and out-of-school time care programs and how they differ from those of traditional early childhood care centers centers as specified, identify and analyze regulations and licensing requirements in other states that are distinctly designed for after schools and out of school time child care programs, and lastly, evaluate the administrative approach necessary to oversee these particular programs, after school and out of school time child care programs, whether the program should be licensed or registered with MDE, the time it would take to transition into a new administrative approach and regulatory framework given the outcome of the study. So we know that each of our areas have a different need for why they're not necessarily providing this, and I think the study would allow for us to understand that fully and then be able to come up with solutions after that.
So if I may, going to Delegate, may I just say, thank you, Madam Chair. Going back to Delegate Wynn's question, what you just stated really is about early child care or child care. So if you're going beyond that and to older ages and needs, that's a much larger issue. So are you focusing mainly on younger people?
So the focus is just all after school and what is it called, out of school time childcare programs. I think the issue is that there is no difference in how the licensing and regulations currently are applied for those programs versus all of the early childhood programs that you just mentioned. And so this would study what is needed so that we can accelerate and get programs like the one in Delegate Wims's district, or some of the needs that Councilmember Oriata just spoke to are needed, so that we have a whole host of tools in our community.
And Delegate, if I could just add to your point,
please.
I think your questions are hitting on exactly what the problem is that right now there is no difference. So if I wanted to do an after-school program and it's in middle school age, they're already in school at elementary, I would have to have the same exact standards as if I ran a daycare program with infants and toddlers. And so there allows no delineation when it comes to getting your licenses, because that's not now regulated by each local jurisdiction. It's 100% regulated by the state.
Good, so you're talking about regulatory things as opposed to programs. I have it, thank you, I think, right? Regulatory. All right, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? I will simply say that, Delegate Martinez, I appreciate the efforts that you're moving forward with this legislation, because I'm going to assume also there will be some consideration for demographics for those programs that are in rural communities, urban, and then, well, primarily those, because there are some discrepancies that are noted.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much. That concludes House Bill 1373.
Thank you.
We will now proceed with House Bill 1288. Delegate Johnson, Andre Johnson, County Boards of Education, appointed members in leadership positions, prohibition. Okay.
Thank you, Madam
And this
Chair.
is sponsor only.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, Delegate Johnson here in strong support and asking for a favorable report on HB 1288. Colleagues, this is a very, very simple bill. This is a bill, this is a year of accountability, and I believe that appointed members should not have the authority over an entire board. In Harford County, there are 6 elected members and 3 appointed members. I feel that if you do the job and going out there knocking on doors, asking people to vote for you, then you should have autonomy over the board. I think that folks that are appointed are only there mainly to do the bidding of the person that appointed them. So this is a very, very simple bill. I will say that, in my haste, I put this bill in and didn't realize that Baltimore City has a total of 9 appointed members and 2 elected members. So I do have amendments that would exempt Baltimore City, because Baltimore City has a very, very very unique governing structure. Also, there is an amendment coming that would streamline the process of making or allowing the governor to have all the appointments. So with that being said, I ask for a favorable report.
All right, thank you very much. We have 2 questions right now. Delegate Griffin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for bringing this bill. Quick question. So your concern obviously is that appointed members of the school board shouldn't be allowed to be in leadership positions?
Yes.
Should appointed members of the House of Delegates be allowed to serve in leadership? Should appointed members of the House of Delegates be able to serve in leadership positions?
Well, I don't think that during the appointment process, when they're appointed, I don't see anyone that's appointed that then becomes the speaker. So I don't think that that's germane to where
Well, I mean,
I'm at
your
here.
bill doesn't speak to being the chair or the president, it speaks to leadership positions.
Well, I'm sorry, Delegate. Well, it is for president and vice president of the school board.
But saying under circumstance where the General Assembly did decide to choose an appointed member to be speaker, by the democracy we have in our body, should they be prohibited from doing so?
In my estimation, I don't see that as being something that would happen, nor would it be advantageous for this body.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, Delegate Ebersol.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, sorry, I was looking some stuff up, so if you address this, if you could just do it quickly again, count other jurisdictions that have maybe a larger percentage of people who are appointed, Baltimore City being, but Baltimore County has about a third also appointed. You said you had an amendment to that effect.
Yes, so.
Can you just outline it real quick, the elevator version for me?
So you're asking about the other jurisdictions. So there are a total of 24 jurisdictions, and 4 of those jurisdictions have hybrid systems. And of those 4 jurisdictions, 3 of them are appointed by the governor, and Baltimore City is the outlier as far as the number of appointed versus elected.
Okay.
Did I answer your question? I'm
Not
sorry.
exactly. I'm just wondering if, I felt like you were going to make, that you had an amendment that might have distinguished between Harford County and Baltimore County, or Baltimore City in this case, but I might have missed it.
Well, actually, the only amendment that would be forthcoming right now would be Baltimore City.
Okay.
And that's just because of the unique nature of Baltimore City.
We'd love to be included in Baltimore County, I think, if we could be. Thank you.
All right. I thank you for that consideration. Next, we'll hear from a question from Delegate Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I see where the Baltimore City School Board has opposition testimony. But I also just lift up this possibility that the outcome of the bill would simply be that we would be electing the leadership as opposed to just electing members. And I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing per se. I would just ask your reaction to, or would you say that if you didn't do the amendment, would that be the impact? Or had you thought about that? Or had you had any feedback on that kind of an impact on this bill?
No, actually, thank you, Delegate, for the question. I haven't really taken a position on that, but I would love to further the conversation so that, as they say, make a bad bill good and a good bill better. So I would love to have that conversation.
I definitely think the city delegation would want to engage on that if it were to move forward without the amendment. But sure. I don't necessarily, I just want to put on the record, I just don't necessarily think that's the worst thing in the world that if we did elect only 2, that those 2 would be chair and president, vice president.
Right.
You know what I mean? Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the question. And Delegate Roberson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just going down Delegate Griffith's line of questioning, on page 2, you denote the difference between appointed member, and so I just want to make sure we're correct. When you talk about appointed member, you're not talking about somebody filling a vacancy, that's correct?
That is absolutely correct. So if an elected member resigns or leaves his or her office, then that appointed member could still be the chair, vice chair, president, vice president. So this is only for those initial elected or appointed members. Like I said, if someone leaves their position and they're an elected official, then that person that's backfilling that would have the opportunity.
Right, then just for clarification's sake, so when you say appointed in this bill, you're referring to those that go through either a council or through a county executive or mayor process?
Exactly.
Thank you so much, for bringing the bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, absolutely. Delegate Hornberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So and maybe you know this better, but the county executive is just appointing members to the board. The county executive isn't appointing the leadership of that board, is he?
No.
Okay. So the leadership of that board is elected by the peers that are in that. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay. So is this taking away power from the board to make a decision? I mean, my understanding is that this board also selects the superintendent. So would the appointed members of the board not be able to weigh in on the superintendent?
No, absolutely. Okay. They would be able to weigh in on the superintendent.
Okay.
My only.
And would the appointed members be able to vote for the leadership of the school board?
So, say that question again, please.
So we established that the county executive is not appointing the leadership.
Sure.
He's just appointing the members.
Sure.
So those members elect their own leadership.
Sure.
So would they be excluded from voting for the leadership?
For the leadership of the board?
Yes.
No, they would still have voting power. And that's the thing is that
Right.
the appointed members will have voting power. It's just that I feel that if you put in the sweat equity to go out there and ask people to elect you for the school board,
Sure.
then you should have the absolute first dibs on whether you're the chair, vice chair, president, or vice president.
Yeah, I think the only way that you're going to get around that, in my opinion, is to have them all elected.
And
So maybe that's.
I wouldn't disagree with you on that, but we are where we are right now, Delegate, and I just think that at this point, I don't want to allow the elected members also to get a free ride without being able to govern their own board.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for bringing the bill.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? If not, thank you, Delegate Johnson. And that concludes House Bill 1288. We'll now proceed with House Bill 1278. Delegate Smith. Maryland Positive Youth Development Commission and Fund, the establishment. And you have three advocates or panelists with you. Yes. Okay. Yep. Good afternoon. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, distinguished and honorable members of the House Ways and Means Committee. For the record, I'm Delegate Stephanie Smith, here to present House Bill 1278. And I do want to say this will be the last time I am before you this session. You're probably tired of me, but this is my last bill. And so this bill takes a proactive approach to supporting the health, safety, and well-being of Maryland's young people by establishing a framework for investing in positive youth development programming across our state. Across the country, policymakers and researchers are increasingly examining the impact that excessive and unregulated social media use can have on youth mental health, including rising concerns around anxiety, depression, and social isolation. Should Maryland receive funds, and I must emphasize, should Maryland receive funds for litigation related to our state is involved in litigation right now through judgments and settlements related to the harms experienced by youth because of social media, House Bill 1278 ensures that Maryland already has a thoughtful structure in place to invest those resources in positive youth development. This is really important. Oftentimes, we're scrambling to try to figure out how to use the proceeds of settlements and judgments instead of thinking ahead about anticipating them and already being ready to go to assist Marylanders. Specifically, the bill establishes the Maryland Positive Youth Development Commission within the State Department of Education. The commission will develop a framework for supporting evidence-based youth development programs and guide the distribution of grants. The Maryland Positive Youth Development Fund, a special, non-lapsing fund that may receive revenues from potential settlements or judgments related to harms to youth, as well as other appropriated funds. Through this structure, Maryland would be able to invest in programs that support young people outside of the traditional school hours, before school, after school, breaks, and summers. And some of those programs can include after-school programs, summer learning and enrichment opportunities, mentoring and youth leadership initiatives, and community-based programs that support youth mental health and family engagement. These programs provide young people with safe environments, positive relationships with adult mentors, and opportunities to build social and emotional skills, all of which are proven to support healthy development and long-term success. Ultimately, House Bill 1278 ensures that if Maryland receives funds related to harm experienced by young people due to social media use, these funds are reinvested into programs that actually help youth build healthy connections, develop critical life skills, and thrive. Now, there are some sponsor amendments that have been sent to the committee, but I want to just highlight them for the body. We have been working in close collaboration with the Maryland State Department of Education, as well as the Attorney General's office, and our out-of-school time partners that you'll hear from shortly, to ensure that, for example, we want to ensure that all appropriated funds related to the investigation and the litigation, all of those proceeds should satisfy the AG's staff, work that led to the development of the litigation. So that's all appropriate. We want to make sure the bill was in line with the Enforcement Recovery Fund that already exists. We also wanted to make it clear that the composition of the task force also includes a youth mental health professional, as well as clarify participation by various educational stakeholders. And I believe that's kind of the high-level summary of the amendments that are the sponsor amendments, but they were negotiated in collaboration with those three main partners. So again, thank you for your time today and for your careful consideration, and hopefully your positive vote on House Bill 1278. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chair Wilkins and members of the committee. I'm Ellie Mitchell. I am the director of the Maryland Out of School Time Network, and we work statewide to advance after-school, summer, and mentoring programs, as well as community schools. And I want to thank Delegate Smith for her leadership on this bill and the cooperation and collaboration with the Maryland State Department of Education. Much of the conversation in Annapolis about social media and youth focuses on platforms and algorithms and addictive features and harmful content. But HB 1278 asks a different question. What are young people doing outside of school? And do they have real alternatives to screens? That answer shapes how vulnerable and how resilient they are when they encounter harmful content online. Young people who have consistent relationships with caring adults, positive peer groups, and structured activities after school are better protected. They have somewhere to be, something to do, and someone to talk to. The American Academy of Pediatrics puts investment in these community spaces first in its recommendations on children and digital health, noting that they can effectively crowd out digital overuse. HB 1278 is an investment in exactly that. The bill creates a dedicated fund to support after-school, summer, mentoring, and community-based programs. And right now in Maryland, we have virtually no dedicated funding for these spaces. We have about $2.5 million in the Public School Opportunity Enhancement Grant. Compare that to the recent investment Michigan made in after-school programs of $135 million. Oregon has placed $35 million in summer, and even Alabama has done $19 million dedicated to summer and after-school programs. This fund is well-structured, it has caps on administrative costs, and it also has meaningful youth engagement in the commission. Thank you, we urge a favorable part.
Dear Chair Wilkins and members of the committee, my name is Stephanie Alfie, and I serve as the co-executive director of Code in the Schools, a Baltimore-based nonprofit that provides computer science education and technology workforce pathways to more than 2,000 young people each year, and we are proud to support House Bill 1278. At our organization, we work at the intersection of technology and youth development. We witness teenagers every day who are navigating a world where digital technology and social media are constant. We see the promise of those tools and also the challenges that they create. What consistently makes the difference, though, for these young people is not just simply limiting their technology or mitigating the challenges that they create after they present, but ensuring that they have the strong relationships, supportive mentors, and structured environments that help them make sense of their digital lives. Research on adolescent development shows that online experiences often mirror their online relationships, their offline relationships. So when young people have strong in-person connections, structured activities, and adults that they can go to when they are seeing challenging things online, this is what's helping to fill the gap that presents in the times when they're not in structured environments and scrolling alone on their phones. Yet Maryland ranks way behind in providing these spaces for young people. Maryland is the bottom 10 of states that provide after-school access, and this gap is compounding many of the challenges that are part of this conversation. So every day at our organization, we see what happens when young people have these safe spaces, are navigating really challenging conversations around technology use. That's from everything from social media use to AI. And we can see them navigating it with the supportive adults in their lives. And in our case, those are the instructors that are coming from their communities to help them navigate these. House Bill 1278 represents an investment in those critical spaces. Thank you so much for your time.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kim Eisenreich, and I serve as chair of the Maryland Association of Local Management Boards and as the administrator of the Howard County Office of the Local Children's Board, which is Howard's LMB. On behalf of the association, I respectfully urge favorable support for HB 1278, establishing the Maryland Positive Youth Development Commission and Fund within the Maryland State Department of Education. This bill creates a sustainable, youth-centered strategy to invest in prevention. It connects a clearly documented problem, as you've heard from my colleagues, the harms associated with excessive and unregulated social media use, to an evidence-informed solution expanding access to after-school, summer, mentoring, and other community-based positive youth development programs for young people from birth through age 25. National leaders have raised serious concerns about youth mental health and social media. The American Psychological Association has emphasized that social media is less harmful when it strengthens real-world relationships and more harmful when it replaces them. Data from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention link high levels of screen time to poor sleep, anxiety, and depressive symptoms. And as you've heard, at the same time, Maryland lacks a dedicated sustainable funding stream for positive youth development outside of school hours. That prevention gap leaves too many young people without structured, supervised, and enriching alternatives to excessive screen time. This bill invests in what we know works: positive relationships and protective after-school, positive relationships and the protective factors that are built into after-school, summer, and mentoring programs that connect youth with consistent, caring adults and supportive peer networks, building belonging and resilience. These programs build critical skills, social emotional learning, self-regulation, and critical thinking, so youth can navigate harmful content, cyberbullying, and disinformation thoughtfully. The bill is also an equity measure. Maryland ranks, as you've heard, among the bottom states in access to after-school and summer programming, and even as demand continues to rise. This legislation creates a sustainable mechanism to expand access statewide, and we respectfully ask for your favorable support of HB 1278. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks so much to this panel for your testimony. First question is from Delegate Roberson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll just ask this initial one just before I get to what I'm really trying to ask. This is a new program, correct?
Yes, this would be a new program established with the proceeds from any judgments or settlements related to.
Thank you. And so you being appropriations, I'm just going to put a pitch that I think we should first look at funding our youth services bureaus, which have already been in existence, and kind of get to what you're trying to do here. And now we went from 19 over the past 10 years to 5 only, which are not mandated funded under appropriations because of the cut of funding. So I think that might get to what you're trying to do here, because I know we're dealing with budget crunch, but these are already doing the work where they can partner with some of these individuals that are trying to do the work. So that's just a suggestion as far as another possible, and because you have oversight in this space, you can move things a little easier than going through a committee. That's just a suggestion, not a question, I guess. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate Buckle.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for Delegate Robertson's budget request for that. She was like, I have a budget request. I happened to be in your committee yesterday, actually, and while I was sitting there, and I think you probably know what I'm talking about, I heard a bill from Delegate Rosenberg.
Yes, I heard that.
The funding that he was talking about, is that the same funding that would be the source of this? It's the funding from the litigation about inappropriate social media for children and other things?
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because I did get to hear that that bill hearing. And so yes, that particular bill is about essentially using it as a source of mental health supports after you've been harmed. And we kind of feel like this bill is about taking a more proactive step to create a healthier young person in the first place.
But the source of the funds is the same, so as long as we're relying on the source of funds, we couldn't do both. Delegate Rosenberg's bill, I was just sitting there listening to it, and he had a mother of a child who had been harmed through sexual predatory behavior and wanted to have, post-event counseling. And I think also, to be fair, some education that probably would help prevent kids from getting involved in that.
That's right.
Would deter, it's disgusting having children myself to sit and listen to how kids hurt each other with technology and adults sort of act predatorily. But the source of funds is the same. It's contingent upon the litigation.
Exactly.
And we'd sort of have to wait and divine out what that would mean whenever the money became available.
Yeah, this bill has no fiscal note because, again, there's no settlement from which to base it. However, if there is no settlement or judgment at any point by 2030, then the bill is null and void.
Okay.
So the recovery has to happen by then.
A lot of good ideas, I think, of what to do. I think everybody in the mental
together.
health field would say there's a lot of good things we could do. It's just a way to figure it out.
Yep.
Thank you.
Agree. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate Patterson.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm trying to find a way to see if, in fact, some of the groups that are really doing this, working with youth, such as the Panhellenic Council, sororities and fraternities are doing multiple things with our children, with our students. So in terms of implementation of this proposal or this law, I hope that some consideration would be given to them because they have rooted history in some of these as being initiatives and factors, as we know with Delta Sigma Theta sorority, as well as with Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority and Sigma Gamma Rho sorority.
And Zeta Phi Beta.
Thank you very much.
Don't want nobody coming.
I think I got them all except Zeta Phi Beta. Okay.
Just want to support everyone.
So the funds would be distributed in a grant program through the State Department of Education. So certainly the sororities and fraternities would be able to apply. And the priorities would be set by the commission. That would include young people. And certainly we could think about how maybe the sororities and fraternities could inform the process of recruiting young people onto that commission.
That's a really good point.
Any other questions, colleagues? All right, seeing none, that ends the bill here on House Bill 1278. Thank you. All right, Delegate Coley, you're up next. House Bill 1310, is this your first presentation in Ways and Means? Yes, it is. Oh, wow, all right. We're excited to be wowed.
I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
And you can start when you're ready.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Honorable Chair Wilkins and esteemed members of the Ways and Means Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to present House Bill 1310, Traumatic Loss Transcript Notation. My name is Derek Coley. I'm a delegate on the committee. I respect to submit this testimony in strong support of House Bill 1310. House Bill 1310 establishes a process allowing for Maryland public high school students to request a transcript notation when they experience a documented traumatic loss. This bill directs local school systems to implement this notation and requires the Maryland State Department of Education to develop standardized language for its use. This legislation focuses on fairness. It focuses on compassion. This legislation focuses on protecting the future of Maryland students. Traumatic loss can significantly disrupt a young person's life. The death of a parent, guardian, sibling, or close family member can have immediate emotional and academic consequences. Students navigating grief may experience temporary declines in grades, attendance, or academic performance. These impacts may be short-term, but the effects on the student's transcript can last much longer. House Bill 1310 provides important context. Colleges and scholarship committees rely on transcripts to evaluate a student's academic journey. When a major life event disrupts that journey, admissions officials deserve a fuller understanding of the events that caused these circumstances. Students, more importantly, deserve the opportunity to have their academic record viewed in context. This bill recognizes the reality many students face after traumatic loss. Some young people take on caregiving responsibilities at home. Some support grieving family members. Some must balance emotional recovery with the demands of school. These challenges are real, and they can temporarily affect academic performance. This legislation promotes fairness in educational opportunities. Students should not lose access to college admissions or scholarships because of a temporary academic disruption caused by tragedy. House Bill 1310 offers a thoughtful and balanced solution. For these reasons, I respectfully urge a favorable report of House Bill 1310. Thank you.
Sure. Hello again, members of the committee, Madam Chair. We commend Delegate Coley and the bill's other co-sponsors for this thoughtful legislation. And we are, at its core, this bill, HB 1310, is about giving young people the opportunity to tell their own story. A transcript is a snapshot, and for a student who has experienced loss during high school, that snapshot may capture the worst period of their life rather than a true picture of their potential. A dip in grades or a difficult semester can follow a student into college applications and scholarship reviews without context. This bill gives students the choice to provide that context in their own words and on their own terms. At most, our work is grounded in positive youth development, and a central principle of that framework is that young people are more than their circumstances. Every young person has strengths and resilience that a data point alone cannot capture, and policies that create spaces for students to be seen as whole individuals align directly with that philosophy. The bill's opt-in design is important. The notation is available as a tool for those who want it with appropriate privacy protections. And the bill also wisely involves school counselors who are well informed positioned to inform students and their family members of this option at the moment when transcripts may be the last thing on their minds. A single difficult period should not define how the world sees a young person's future. And HB 1310 is a practical, student-centered step toward a more complete and fair picture of who our young people are. We urge a favorable report.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman. My name is Darlene Johnson, and I'm here in support of HB 1310. I thank Delegate Cooley for this opportunity to speak. When I was 17 years old and a senior in high school, my mother died suddenly, just months before graduation, prom, finals, and all the milestones that are supposed to celebrate the end of childhood. She was my guide, my safe place, the person who had always believed in me, and suddenly she was gone. One day, I was a normal teenager preparing for my future, and the next day, my entire world collapsed. I was devastated. My family was never the same. I had never experienced loss before. I was still a vulnerable child, completely unprepared for grief of this magnitude. I felt confused, abnormal, and completely lost, while the world expected life to continue as if nothing had happened. My mother dreamed of seeing me graduate from college. My brother attended Columbia University, and my sister attended NYU. As the youngest child, I felt the weight of continuing that legacy and fulfilling the dreams my mother had for me. But after her death, everything changed. I missed a tremendous amount of school because I simply could not function through the grief. My grades fell dramatically, and at one point, I was told I might not graduate with my class. I was told that I might have to return after graduation to attend summer school just to finish high school. I remember feeling robbed. All of the years of hard work I had put in, my academics, extracurricular activities, leadership roles, volunteering, and late-night studying for my future. At the same time, I was expected to apply to colleges and to make life-defining decisions while trying to understand how to live in a world without my mother. The sudden loss of my mother changed the trajectory of my life. While I did ultimately get accepted to college, I did not receive a college acceptance until mid-April. And it was not the school my family and I had hoped for. My choices were limited because the context of what I had endured was never fully understood. A bill like HB 1310 would allow colleges and decision makers to see the human story behind a transcript. A bill like HB 1310 would give students facing unimaginable loss something I did not have, understanding. Grief should never be mistaken for failure. No child navigating devastating grief should have their future judged without context. I respectfully urge you to support HB 1310. Thank you.
Thank you so much, each of you, for your testimony and for bringing this really meaningful bill. Colleagues, do we have any questions? Okay, it's his first bill. No questions? Come on, y'all. Work with me here. Work with. Wow, lots of questions for you, Delegate Coley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right. No, well, truly, we appreciate the bill, and thank you so much. Seeing no real questions, congratulations on your first bill here in the Ways and Means Committee. Thank you to this panel of witnesses, and we'll definitely take a close look at this one. House Bill 1310, that ends the bill hearing. Thank you,
committee.
We do have two jointly assigned bills, but we'll need to get the Appropriations Committee over here, so we'll hold on those. Delegate Miller, let's go to your bills. Would you like to start with House Bill 1334? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Ways and Means Committee. For the record, I am Delegate April Miller, representing Frederick County, here to present House Bill 1334, the Maryland Public Education Parental Partnership Act. There are currently 494 school-wide Title I schools in Maryland. Each of these institutions is already required to follow the guidelines outlined in this bill to remain in compliance with federal regulations. This legislation simply codifies these existing federal standards into Maryland law. And as of 2025, we have 617 community schools, of which parent engagement is a core tenet of success. And reading from the Transformational Community School Toolkit from the Maryland Center for Community Schools, Quote, "At the core, this approach is a commitment to doing school differently. Educators, families, and students and community partners collaborate as equal stakeholders, aligning in-school and out-of-school supports to create environments where our young people can truly thrive. Building trust, fostering mutual respect, and recognizing the expertise of students and families are essential to this work. When students and families are meaningfully involved in decision-making, we expand our collective capacity to transform schools." At its core, House Bill 1334 is about trust. A true partnership requires transparency regarding curriculum, educator qualification, and clear lines of communication. By formalizing these compacts, we tell Maryland parents, we value your expertise on your child. We want you here. For too long, families have felt like spectators in their children's education rather than partners, and House Bill 1334 changes that by codifying a gold standard for parental engagement across every public school in Maryland. With the current shutdown of the U.S. Department of Education, Maryland can no longer rely on Title I oversight to protect parental engagement. So this bill codifies these proven federal guidelines into state law, ensuring that the parent-school compact remains a right for every family, regardless of federal changes. And as we implement the blueprint for Maryland's future, we must ask ourselves, are our schools fortress schools that keep parents at arm's length, or are they partnership schools where families are seen as essential co-creators of success? This bill is designed to ensure the latter, as it operationalizes the blueprint's community school model by modeling the dual capacity framework developed by Dr. Karen Mapp. As highlighted at a recent Prince George's County Public Schools strategic vision presentation, they said, quote, "We must move beyond involvement toward building a collaborative ecosystem." And the blueprint's Pillar 4 envisions schools as the heart of the community. House Bill 1334 breathes life into this by mandating our essential core beliefs in all our school cultures. All families have dreams for their children. All families have the capacity to support learning. Families and school staff are partners, and the responsibility for this partnerships rests primarily with school leaders. So as we implement the blueprint, we must ask ourselves again, what type of school do we want? Do we want to come if we call phase school where communication is one way and families are only to join at arm's length? We need Maryland to move fully toward an advanced partnership level, where that engagement is directly linked to student learning, families are viewed as knowledgeable contributors, and relational trust is a foundation. The evidence is clear. According to NSBA and Waterford.org, high-impact family engagement leads to higher grades, decreased chronic absenteeism, higher teacher retention. Strong homeschool partnerships improve job satisfaction, reduce burnout, making this bill a win for educators and for their families. A yes vote says this General Assembly believes in the community school model. It affirms the engagement of parents and family, not just lip service used to receive funds, but is truly the cornerstone of our transformative schools. It says that we support codifying federal law to protect our Title I schools. And it says that we believe the tenets of the blueprint around family involvement and that community support are not just best practices for some students, but they should be the very foundation for all our schools. We have the framework, we have the data, we have the blueprint, we have the vision and successes from our local school districts like Prince George's County, Anne Arundel, and Frederick. Now we need the law to match our convictions. And just a brief comment on the opposition from Anne Arundel County Public Schools and the League of Women Voters. While I understand the desire for local control at all costs, school systems are not exempt from following federal and state law, like Title I and Blueprint. And that is all this bill does, simply codifies the already established advantage of family involvement for all students, so we don't have different rules on family engagement dependent on a student's zip code. I respectfully urge a favorable report on House Bill 1334.
Madam Chair, my name is Jonathan Alexander. I'm an attorney and legislative counsel for the Maryland Family Institute. Thank you for this opportunity to testify in support of 1334. Maryland has in place the most natural, time-tested safeguard for children, their own parents. But we must decide as a state whether parents will be treated as true partners in their children's education or just as afterthoughts who are only informed about major decisions when they've already been made. Well, 1334 offers a balanced, practical path forward, requiring every county to adopt a written and parent-family engagement policy that's developed with parents, evaluated by parents, and revised every year to update and remove barriers to real involvement. And it brings that commitment down to the classroom level by requiring every school to adopt this parent-school compact, and spells it out in plain language. Spells out what the school will provide, what parents can expect, and how parents can support their child's success. It's posted online, and with our growing community, it's accessible in the different languages that are spoken here in the state. You know, recent Supreme Court opinions like the Marabelli versus Bonta decision and the Mahmoud v. Taylor decision make clear that schools cannot lawfully cut parents out of critical decisions about their child's education or their moral foundation. You know, those cases tell us what the Constitution will not tolerate, but HB 1334 tells us what a healthy, lawful partnership between schools and families should look like in Maryland. And with a bill like this, we can count on transparency, we can count on notice, we can count on genuine opportunities for parents to engage even before a conflict becomes a crisis. You know, this is not a partisan bill, it's a trust-building bill. Parents feel respected and informed. They can meet with teachers, support educators, and reinforce this learning at home.
Thank you so much, Delegate, for bringing the bill. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Delegate Pastor.
Thank you. I was a little slow on pushing that mic. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for bringing this forward, because there does need to be some collaboration. How does this compact, this plan between the parents and the teachers include the administration, the school's administration? So will you talk a little bit about how those three groups, if you will, are going to work together as the MSDE or whoever's putting this together? How do they see this vision?
Of course. Well, I think, I mean, obviously your principal sets the tone and the leadership for the entire building. So they're the ones that have to be, and it falls on school personnel to be the instigator of these compacts. And as far as the community outreach, we can't rely on the community to come in. We have to invite them in, and they have to be part of that partnership. And that leadership starts actually at the top with the superintendent on how you want to change that. And then it goes all the way down through the school system. Just like I said, our community schools, if I've had a pleasure of going to some of the presentations, especially Prince George's County when we went to the Reed event over the summer, and Anne Arundel County, they are doing amazing things with their community schools. So it's time to take what they've learned in those partnerships and then translate that to all of our schools. And that's what this bill does. Because like I said, it shouldn't depend on the amount of family engagement that you have, really shouldn't depend on the school you go to. It should actually be kind of codified for all of our schools to have the same advantages, because it makes a big difference, and that's what they're finding. That's why we did the blueprint.
Okay, thank you. If I may, Madam Chair, that being said, and I looked at this very closely, and I thank you for sharing it early on.
I thank you for your input.
And the one concern I have, so I just would like for you to address that. And it's a concern I have even with the community school concept, which I think is good, but it seems like a number do things differently. Okay, there's no continuity, which is what you're asking for here. So just reading this, if this is passed and this concept becomes the law, as I look at this, what you just described, I don't see clearly here. I think that we know what it is, but I think that in writing, in terms of presenting it to other people who might not be processing blueprint or this as clearly. So
agreed. There was definitely some misunderstanding, like I said, from some of the opposition testimony that I was not understanding. So yeah, this is, like I said, it codifies Title I. I took it exactly from the federal Title I guidelines and put it directly into a bill. That is what I gave the drafters. So everything in this bill should already be done at our almost 500 Title I schools.
As you often point out, some of those things that should have been and that are in law don't happen.
Agreed.
And sometimes that's because the language is not specific enough for general population to understand that relationship. So I'm just flipping you on you and just saying in the language here, just making it clear to everyone that this is what is meant.
Okay.
Because I see your point.
That is the intent.
Thank
you. Want to add anything?
Thank you.
I think you covered it. I think probably one last point is that there isn't any punitive aspect, and that, goes along with the administrator, teacher, and parent relationship. This isn't a punishment. This is just an encouragement to do the right thing for our kids.
Thank you, Delegate. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, that ends the bill hearing on House Bill 1334. Up next, Delegate Miller, House Bill 1274. We do have, I see 2 witnesses signed up on that one.
Oh, there you go. To the other side.
Elizabeth Vickers and Sean Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your flexibility on this. For the record, I am Delegate April Miller, representing Frederick County, here to present House Bill 1274. This bill authorizes a local school system to award a standard high school diploma, a posthumous honorary diploma, and an in memoriam diploma to a deceased student who meets specified eligibility criteria. The bill establishes conditions under which each type of diploma may be awarded, requires a local school system to determine credit thresholds for standard and honorary diplomas, and requires that a diploma be awarded only upon written request of a parent, legal guardian, or next of kin. Posthumous and in memoriam diplomas awarded under the bill are ceremonial and do not confer legal rights associated with academic completion. Any diploma awarded under the bill may not be included in graduation rate calculations. And I would like to call your attention to the favorable testimony from MSDE and the State Board, and I really appreciate their support in this initiative.
Thank you, Delegate Miller. Madam Chair, hello, members of the committee. My name is Sean Johnson, and I testify here often, but today I ask for a little grace because I do not testify on behalf of my normal work, but as the father of Carter. On January 8th, 2019, my son Carter died by suicide. He was a sophomore at North Point High School in Charles County, and he should have graduated with the class of 2021. Now, I didn't know legislation like this was necessary because 2 years after Carter died, the community at North Point, led by an extraordinary principal, made sure he was forever a part of that class. As seniors came out of COVID and graduation signs lined our street, one of them was given to me. And as graduation approached, I was provided with a diploma that had Carter David Marone Johnson printed on it. After a child dies, very few new things enter your life that are not reminders of their death. Their memorials, their bills, their sympathy cards, everything looks backwards, marking what was lost. But what that school did was something new. Grief is confounding. It's one of those things that's universal, and yet we often suffer it alone. And one of the hardest parts of grief, at least for me, is grieving not just who Carter was, but who he was going to be. The moments that we didn't get to have, the milestones that he would never reach, the unrealized potential, the dreams. You begin dreaming the moment your kids are born. And high school graduation is one of those markers. It's friendship, it's accomplishment, it's growth, it's promise. It's a bridge to what's next, but there's not a what's next for Carter. But that diploma acknowledged that he mattered, that he belonged to that class and to that community. And so it may seem like just a piece of paper, which I have, but I'm here to tell you it's not. because for a moment it stood out as the only thing in an otherwise stopped-in-time bedroom that was not collecting dust. It told my family that living does not entirely stop when someone dies. It wrapped its arms around our family and it said that you're not alone. Now, you'll pass a lot of bills that matter. Let this be one of them. Of course, this legislation will not bring Carter or anyone else's child back, but I hope this bill doesn't have to matter to very many families. But for the families it does matter to, it will matter greatly. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Liz Vickers, and I'm a resident of Frederick County. I live on a farm in Middletown with my husband, James, and my 4 boys. I'm here today in favor of Bill HB 1274. I am no stranger to tragedy. Almost 16 years ago, on July 25th, 2010, my beautiful son, Eric, was tragically killed. Eric was 6 years old, a child with boundless energy, full of hopes and dreams. He had just finished his kindergarten year. He was days away from starting football practice, which he was so excited about. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon when a huge thunderstorm blew through. Eric was at a park with his father and an older brother, Drew. They decided to make a quick run for it to get back home before the rain started. They were due to come home to my house that evening. Within seconds, straight line winds ripped a tree in half and it fell down on Eric, killing him instantly. When I received the call, my entire world came crashing down. In those few seconds, I watched a lifetime of hopes and dreams vanish. Graduating from elementary school, middle school, proms and awards, graduation from high school, his wedding, his children. I was left there broken with nothing but hearing his little voice in my memories. Over the course of the next 15 years, I've had to stand strong, raising my family through grief and tragedy. It wasn't our only trial. My 6th baby, Angelia Elizabeth, was born with congenital heart defects just a short 2 years after Eric died. She lived 5 months and never came home from the hospital, leaving us grieving all over again. It's certainly not been an easy journey. I'm a cancer survivor, and I've had a stress-induced heart attack, all while raising a family to my best of my abilities. This brings me to why I'm here. Education is more than just credits. It's a journey to adulthood. All parts of that journey include milestones that sometimes can be taken for granted. Watching them learn to read, scoring a touchdown on a football field, getting straight A's, prom, watching them in their school play, learn to stand up and do public speaking, science projects, field trips, and friendships. When Eric and Angelia died, I didn't just lose them, I lost their future too. A posthumous diploma is a small way to honor those children in their journey in their lifetime, whether they were young like Eric or in high school about to graduate. Their journey should be honored. This bill isn't just about a piece of paper. It's about finding compassion for grieving families and offering a connection to the community in which they grew. They deserve to be honored and not lost. Their families deserve healing. I respectfully ask that you vote in favor of this bill. Thank you.
This is my nephew, Eric. He's forever 6. He was full of sunshine and light. He loved sports, being outside, fishing, and Nerf guns. And when we lost him suddenly in that storm, not only our hearts were broken, but all of our hopes and dreams for him were shattered. I spent those first hazy days of grief trying to find the light, desperately searching for symbols of all his possibilities and dreams fulfilled, so I could give my sister-in-law back a little symbol of comfort. I reached out to the Ravens and Redskins, and they sent items to present to my family at the funeral, as watching football with his dad and stepdad was a favorite way for Eric to spill a Sunday afternoon. I also reached out to his school and FCPS to ask if they could do an honorary diploma. I was denied. They said they don't do anything like that, and I was devastated. It felt like they stepped on my already breaking heart. In the middle of all the grief, I was just trying to collect all the pieces that I could to let the world, and most importantly, my sister-in-law and her family know how much Eric mattered, how he was a cherished part of his community and his school, a small part of the dreams we had for him, something, anything that we could still hold on to. And many of you are familiar with how hard I fight and keep fighting. So after I was elected to the Board of Education, I wanted to create a policy that would allow FCPS to provide those honorary diplomas to families who are grieving a lost child. I was told no. The state issues diplomas and does not allow for it unless the student was close to graduation. So here we are. This bill requires the Maryland State Board and MSDE to recognize that all students are beloved, cherished members of their school community, and they deserve to be recognized and honored. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate, for this bill. Ms. Vickers, Mr. Johnson, we've known you to come before this committee for a very, very long time. I know this was really difficult testimony, so thank you through the pain for bringing this issue to our attention. This is something that's very important, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question from Delegate Pastor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, first of all, thank you. And I want to tell you that I don't know what the state considers close to graduation, because 19 years ago, I had a student who was 2 weeks from graduation. And I had to threaten to go to the media in order to get a diploma for him 2 weeks before graduation. So we got it, but you're correct, sitting on the board could not make it countywide. So we need to have a bill. Isn't that so?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next, Delegate Patterson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I too served on the school board, similar to Delegate Pastor, and so we've made some exceptions. But I want to, first of all, acknowledge, Mr. Johnson, your courage and your consistency in honoring Connor, and for Delegate Miller for bringing this legislation to us, because one thing that I've read in here that's really important, because when the students are no longer with their class, for the students who are left behind, they're still part of that group. And I think the idea of providing a diploma for them, whether it's in grade school, middle school, or high school, brings some kind of closure. And so for the parents, I honor you and recognize you for your advocacy and for the memories that you keep alive of the young people that were with us. So I support this legislation.
Thank you.
Totally.
Thank you.
Well said, Delegate. On behalf of the entire committee, our deepest condolences to you and both of your families.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, that ends the bill hearing on House Bill 1274. Next up is a jointly assigned bill, House Bill 1231, Delegate Weibel. And this is jointly assigned with the Appropriations Committee. Representing the committee is Delegate Greist. If other appropriations members become available, they'll come on over, but right now, he has the Appropriations Committee on his shoulders. Thank you, Delegate. You can begin.
Thank you, Madam
when you're
Chair.
ready.
My name is Delegate Weibel. It's good to be with you, the honorable members of the Ways and Means Committee. If you don't mind, I know this is listed as a sponsor only, but I'd like to introduce folks who came in support of the bill, if I may. First of all, we have Dr. James Klauber, who's president of Hagerstown Community College. We have Caprice Smith, who's director of our early college programs at HCC. Grace McDonald, who is an English major at HCC in the dual enrollment program. Audrey Shives in the dual enrollment program, a business administration major. We have Claire Murphy, who is a visual arts major and going to Salisbury in the fall, and then we have Emily Budd, who received her degree in December from HCC as a criminal justice major. All these folks are members of their home school and participated in a dual enrollment program at HCC. So thank you all for being here and showing your support. As you all know, dual enrollment is where the student is enrolled in both high school and an institution of higher education, and I really think it's an ingenious program which allows students to get a jump start on their college credits while also obtaining their high school diploma. House Bill 1231 extends the benefits of dual enrollment to non-public and homeschool students. Why should you support this legislation? House Bill 1231 provides fairness and equal opportunity for Washington County residents. Dual enrollment is a statewide program intended to provide early access to college coursework. Private school and homeschool students are Maryland residents, their families pay state and local taxes, and they contribute to the same economy and workforce as public school families. Denying them access to publicly supported dual enrollment opportunities creates a disparity in educational access based solely on school choice. House Bill 1231 simply ensures that every student can benefit from the same opportunities. Dual enrollment has proven academic benefits. The research consistently shows that dual enrollment increases high school graduation rates, improves college readiness, raises the likelihood of college enrollment and completion, reduces the time and cost needed to earn a degree. Private and homeschool students should not be excluded from a program that has documented statewide and national educational benefits. House Bill 1231 strengthens Maryland's workforce pipeline. Dual enrollment allows the students to complete college credits earlier, enter the workforce more quickly, and gain exposure to high-demand career pathways offered by community colleges. Rural counties like Washington County especially benefit when more students have affordable access to post-secondary coursework aligned with local workforce needs, such as healthcare, IT, trades, and engineering. Excluding private and homeschool students needlessly limits Maryland's future talent pool. House Bill 1231 potentially helps low-income and refugee students. As referenced in Dr. Klauber's written testimony, many homeschool students, including those new to the United States, refugees, and students from immigrant communities, are often educated in community-based learning programs. Many of these students cannot access Pell Grants because they're too young, lack the financial resources to pay for college, and would greatly benefit from the 75% LEA funding match and a 25% college tuition discount. Dual enrollment can be a lifeline, granting opportunity to students who otherwise cannot afford college exposure. House Bill 1231 encourages parental choice without penalty. Parents who choose private or homeschool education often do so for cultural or educational reasons, specialized academic needs, or safety or learning environmental preferences. Those families should not be penalized by losing access to state-supported programs available to public school students. House Bill 1231 recognizes parental and student choice while ensuring equal access to college readiness programs. The bill expands enrollment and potential revenue for community colleges, allowing more Washington County residents to participate in dual enrollment, increases the enrollment at HCC, strengthens partnerships between the county and the college, and helps stabilize community college budgets at a time of enrollment declines nationwide. This policy supports both students and the institutions that serve them. House Bill 1231 aligns with Maryland's commitment to leave no one behind. The bill extends opportunities to students who are residents of Maryland who want to pursue a higher education, would benefit academically and professionally, and should not face artificial barriers because they attend school outside the system. This legislation directly supports the governor's guiding principle of ensuring equitable access to educational opportunity. For these reasons, I ask for a favorable report on House Bill 1231. I did want to comment on the one unfavorable report in your testimony, and that's from MSDE. And their point is that a county-specific statutory modification to a program operating within a statewide framework raises concerns about program consistency, funding, and equitable access. They prefer a coordinated statewide approach. And I can't argue with that comment. What I would suggest is that possibly this bill be made a pilot program for 2 years where we report back to the General Assembly, and then the program could potentially then be rolled out statewide. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Delegate, for bringing this bill. Colleagues, any questions? Okay, seeing none, that ends the bill hearing on House Bill 1231. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. We have a second jointly assigned bill, House Bill 1205, Delegate Wims. And so far, our appropriations colleagues are able to stay for this one. We have Delegate Grice and welcome Delegate Tolles. Thank you so much for being here. Sure.
Good afternoon, Chair Wilkins and distinguished members of the BETS Committee in the House. For the record, my name is Greg Wims, and I'm presenting House Bill 1205, Education Minimum Wage for Education Support Professionals. Education Support Professionals, or ESPs, are essential to a functioning school system. They include the staff who greet the families at the desk, the bus drivers who transport students to and from school, the paraeducators and aides who support students with disabilities, and the administrative and janitorial staff that ensure daily operations run smoothly so teachers can teach and students can learn. When these roles are understaffed or underpaid, the impact is immediate. Too many of the workers who care for our students and keep schools open are forced to take additional jobs simply to make ends meet. HB 1205 responds with a long-term, predictable wage standard and respects the work that they do. As outlined in the bill, beginning July 1, 2028, each local school system must pay education support professionals at least $25 an hour. To ensure implementation is planned and budgeted appropriately, the bill also requires the Maryland State Department of Education to submit by December 1, 2026, a report to the governor and the General Assembly estimating the total cost of the implementation, with estimates broken down by local school systems. Each approach gives the state and local boards the time and information they need to plan efficiently. HB 1205 sets a statewide floor for those essential positions while preserving local flexibility in how school systems structure pay above the floor and manage implementation details. The state board may adopt regulations as needed to carry out the law. Maryland students benefit when schools are fully staffed with an experienced, stable workforce. A $25 minimum wage helps improve recruitment and retention, reduces turnover, and strengthens the day-to-day operation that supports our teachers. They also provide transportation, school meals, and classroom assistance. Now, at this point, I want to say, and I'm going to try to hold back my tears. We've had a tearful evening or afternoon. 10 days ago, 5 ESPs came to visit me, and we spent a half an hour together from Kent County. But they represent pretty much all the counties throughout the state. Each one of them worked 2 jobs, some for as many as 15 years. They told me, like, one was a library aide who was asked by the principal, or I should say the administration, to help with the yearbook. One was helping with the food with the cafeteria, and they were asked to stay with buses would break down and students had to wait. They would stay with the students because no one was there for their safety. And the others talked about being in the office, but asked to do many jobs at the salary where they could not afford to pay for things for their family. And at this point, I wanted to take 2 minutes for my colleagues here to talk about me. I worked literally 2 jobs for 25 years, coming from a low-income family, and my wife the same. I married the girl next door. When our children were born, the first one was born, of course, we had to get a babysitter. Childcare, even back then, we're talking some 40 years now, was still expensive, but we were able to do that. But when my second child was born, I had to end up for 3 years to work 3 jobs. My wife still worked the 1 job. We had a daycare. So that was 4 jobs just to make ends meet because the salary was very low. The thing that brought tears to my eyes when I got home that night, and my wife, of course, didn't see it, as most men, we don't want anyone to see a man crying, was that I thought about, after talking to those Kent County employees, how I missed my firstborn first steps, because when they were born, I was at my second job. Then 5 years later, when my second one was born, when I was working the 3 jobs at the time, my son played basketball for a local team in the community. And then for the last second, he scored 3 points and won the game. And they talk about it all the time, and I kept had his face, I'm so proud of you for making that shot. But deep inside, I had the guilt that I wasn't there to see that because I had to work, and work and be away from the family. So what I'm saying to this group here and asking for a favor report on House B 1205, it's not just about minimum wage and having the money to support their families, but it's about the guilt that those 5 who came to see me and the 70-some thousand who work in the state of Maryland as ESPs because they're not there with their families because they don't have a living wage. So again, I asked for a favor report, and now we have the panel, and we'll start with the left here.
Good afternoon, Chair Wilkins and members of the committee. I am Stacy Taman, and I am here to express strong support for House Bill 1205, legislation that would require local boards of education to pay educational support staff a minimum wage of $25 per hour by July 1, 2028. I serve as the president of the Calvert Association of Educational Support Staff, representing more than 900 support professionals in Calvert County. We're a wall-to-wall union representing every non-certificated, non-supervisory employee who keeps our district running. And across Maryland, ESP professions are as diverse as those who serve in them. We are the framework that holds the entire school day together, the structure, the connection, and the motion that allow teachers to teach and students to learn. We touch every aspect of daily operations, yet nearly 16,000 of the more than 44,000 ESPs working in Maryland public schools earn below living wage. More than 35% do not earn enough to meet basic needs. Still, we show up every day committed to the well-being of our students. Many of us work multiple jobs and still struggle to afford basic essentials. Multiple jobs lead to exhaustion, burnout, and high turnover, which disrupts services and destabilizes support for students. My quick napkin math, an instructional assistant in Calvert County, earns $28,382 a year. After modest taxes, healthcare, and expenses, their monthly leftover amount is $12. We must have a $25 minimum wage for those who are helping to shape the next leaders of our communities. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Wilkins and members of the committee. I am here today to testify in strong support of House Bill 1205, and our union thanks Delegate Wims for bringing forward this legislation. My name is Arthur Bonsu. I work as a security assistant at Oxon Hill Middle School in Prince George's County, where I've worked for the last 10 years. I am also on the executive board of ACE-ASME Local 2250. Our union is proud to represent school support staff and PGCPS, including transportation, security services, building maintenance, food services, paraeducators, and more. Our members work to create a safe and healthy learning environment for students and other staff. Too many of our members struggle to make ends meet and must work more than one job to get by. Many of our members who work in food service, security services, and those that are one-on-one side aid support for special education children are earning less than $25 per hour. Too many of our members cannot make ends meet for themselves or their families and have to work multiple jobs to make ends meet. I myself work 3 jobs, 2 jobs in addition to my job with the school. We struggle with the short staffing and challenging workloads. Short staffing is problematic in food service, special education services, and even in the transportation department due to insufficient pay. Many of our members can earn more going to work with a private sector employer. We love what we do, and we love working to make a safe and positive environment for students, but our working conditions and pay are unsustainable for our families. Our work is essential for our students, schools, and communities, but our pay does not reflect that reality. Please support us and our communities by passing HB 1205. We urge the committee to issue a favorable report on HB 1205. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Travis Simon, and I'm proud to serve as Executive Director of SEIU 500. We represent over 10,000 support staff at MCPS, including paraeducators, bus drivers, food service workers, building service workers, admin secretaries, security personnel, and more. These are the people who open our schools before sunrise and keep them running long after the last bell rings. I'm here today in strong support of House Bill 1205. Right now, there are tens of thousands of support staff across Maryland, and many of them earn less than $25 an hour. In some counties, well over half of these essential workers fall below that mark. These are full-time public school workers who are struggling to afford housing, groceries, and childcare in the communities that they serve. No one who works full-time in Maryland's public schools should need a second or third job just to survive. When wages are this low, the results are obvious: high vacancy rates, turnover, and burnout. Today, we have thousands of vacant support staff positions across the state, and that instability hurts students directly, especially students with disabilities, students in community schools, and those who rely on consistent adult support to thrive. The success of the Blueprint for Maryland's Future doesn't just rely on teachers. It relies on the entire workforce that supports instruction every single day. Support staff are not peripheral to this vision. They are central to its success. HB 1205 sets a clear, responsible path to a $25 minimum wage by July of 2028. SEIU 500 would also like to thank Delegate Wims for your leadership on behalf of support staff and ESPs across the state, and we respectfully ask for a favorable report on HB 1205. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Wilkins, members of the Ways and Means Committee. My name is Paul Emley, the president of the Maryland State Education Association. We represent about 76,000 educators and school employees across Maryland. We're also here in strong support of House Bill 1205. I think you've heard all the reasons why. I just want to give you a couple of numbers. We think about 16,000 education support professionals in Maryland make below $25 an hour. And we think that group is about 75 or 80% women. And the fiscal note, especially from the LEAs, dramatically overstates the cost of this effort. Ms. Taman does not do napkin math. She does scattergrams, and those are distributions of actual people and actual wages. And we think the estimates from St. Mary's, Frederick, and Anne Arundel counties in the fiscal notes are about 90% higher than the actual cost of this bill. To be specific, we figured out the actual wages of the people in these counties, the actual raises they would need, and came up with numbers about 10% of the estimates in the fiscal note. We urge a favorable report for these critical staff. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this bill and your testimony. Question from Delegate Roberson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And this is just apropos because I was actually reaching out to my school board. At first, I want to thank ASME for coming out into my office just to share this priority with me, and forgot that I was even a co-sponsor, so glad of that. But nonetheless, they brought in and reached out to my school board just to understand what the starting salaries were for those who were working, and they gave me some numbers that even those with a college degree don't even start at $25 an hour. And the expectation is that you would work towards that, and those that have 60 hours, so you're still trying to go to school while trying to maintain a full-time job, while trying to raise your family and take care of your personal obligations as well. And so, and just so we're clear, when you stated, just real quick question, when you stated a living wage, what number is that? So we're clear, so we all have an understanding what living wage we're actually working towards. I know you said $25 an hour, but what actually is considered a living wage, especially for the state of Maryland? Because according to $25 an hour, that's around $52,000 a year, which is, if that's considered the living wage that you're speaking of.
I'll be super brief in case you want more information from someone else. I recommend the MIT Living Wage Calculator because you can put in a county in Maryland. They're very different. And, oh shoot, there was another piece. Living Wage Calculator from MIT, and the other part of your question was?
What is considered living wage versus you all are proposing $25 an hour? So I'm trying to see what would actually be considered living wage. Is it the $25 an hour?
More than 25 in most jurisdictions in Maryland.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
I know what I wanted to add.
Yes.
These folks often work about 1,400 hours, whereas a person who has year-round employment works about 2,200. So not only is it a lower hourly wage, it's a much lower yearly income.
So you go to my second question, which is the fact that they're not paid when the school is not in session, correct? Right. And that includes snow days. They're not paid on snow days, correct?
Depends on their job.
Okay, and then some holidays they are and some holidays they aren't, correct?
That's depending on the district.
Yeah, it would be negotiated.
Got it. So what my point is, it's not necessarily a yearly salary is what we're looking at.
That's right.
Correct. But they're expected to be there as though they're full-time.
Many, many hourly employees among this group.
Correct. Okay, thank you. So we're even, if you were making $25 an hour, you're still not even reaching that $50,000 a year, is my point. Thank you. So I think this is also goes to your point of why the fiscal note might be underrepresented or overrepresented in the funding.
That's not even part of the fiscal note, no. Yeah. We have data we can share.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next question will go to Delegate Grist.
Chair, and after the answers, I think Delegate Till's going to lead. We have a supplemental budget hearing going on right now, just started. But yeah, this is, it seems to me similar, and if it's not, this is part of the question. In the past, where we have collective bargaining processes, all over state government. And when we do, there's things that both sides they get, and there's certain concessions that they also make throughout the entire process. And oftentimes, when on the labor side, when they make those concessions, they're not necessarily concessions, because what they do is that those concessions end up turning into a piece of legislation, and it comes before us, and then they end up getting what they want. Is this one of those times where during the collective bargaining process where the unions decided, this is something that we're going to concede throughout this negotiation, and then come to us and then put it in a piece of legislation? Is this one of those examples or no?
I don't think so, sir. And if it were a simple matter of collective bargaining, I think there would be places that reached this goal. But nowhere to my knowledge has it even been contemplated in collective bargaining that we get here for this many people. And obviously, we cannot do collective bargaining all at once for 24 jurisdictions. Is that helpful?
It is, in the sense that I guess this issue wasn't discussed in the first place. So I guess if it's not discussed, then it's not a concession. So I guess that does answer my question.
I don't mean to suggest that we don't try,
right.
if that's what you're asking.
So no, it does answer the question. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, and many thanks to the Appropriations Committee. We know you have very pressing budget matters to attend to, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Next, Delegate Polakovich-Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Delegate Wims, for bringing the bill. Well, as you know, Delegate Wims, but for the context of your panel, I work as a short-term substitute teacher for Montgomery County Public Schools when we're not in session, so I see how hard all of these support professionals are working day in and day out, and very much appreciate the work that you do. Mr. Lemley, you started to talk about the fiscal note, and I just wondered if you could just elaborate on the points you started to bring up about what you thought the issues were.
Sure. I'll be as brief as I can, and I'm happy to share this in writing if it's helpful. The fiscal note has really two models. One is your DLS tried to say that if they don't know what people make now below $25 an hour, they assumed it was the minimum wage of the state, 15. Mm-hmm. So they took every person they could identify as a support professional under 25 and modeled them at a $10 raise. And so they tried to get the high side of what this could be, because some people are obviously earning more than that. Everyone in Ms. Taman's unit is 19 or above. So when they did the high side, you could basically take $25 or a $10 raise times the number of people, and I said they work about 1,300 hours, so 1,260. It became a $12,600 figure per person. Now that's the high side. When we did our math, we figured out what they actually earned because the raise wasn't as big as $10 per person. The ridiculous numbers that you got were from LEAs who said, if you took a $10 raise and you pushed it through the whole pay scale, it would result in like a $77 million cost in Frederick. That is not what the bill suggests, and no union could possibly get a $77 million salary increase as much as we might try. It just wouldn't happen. So those LEA estimates were if you took the raise and pushed it through the whole scale.
Okay, thank you very much.
I would just add that, like, in MCPS, the lowest wage is 20. So clearly, yeah, kind of like here's a big 19. Yeah.
Any other questions? Delegate Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just caught part of this. So usually when you do, are they sending that because you can't just adjust part of the scale? Or is that what the bill's trying to do?
No, the bill is for a higher starting pay, right? A higher minimum.
Right.
Like I said, it assumed that like you'd start the existing scale at 25 and make every raise proportional from that starting point, I guess. I think that's what the LEH tried to model.
Yes, that's what they would say, because usually, like I said, anytime you do any kind of collective bargaining, anytime you do any kind of contracts, when we went to the 60,000 for the minimum teachers, yes, it's gonna cause a bump up the scale. They really fight back.
Be specific about that?
Of course, please.
I'm a Howard County teacher, and in Howard, we simply took off the bottom steps that were below 60.
Interesting. Yeah, most of the time, especially Frederick County, which I'm very familiar with, usually they're gonna push, it's gonna push the whole scale, which obviously makes you even more top-heavy, because then, especially if it's a percentage-wise thing, that also comes out unfairly, because then the percentage-wise obviously is higher for the higher salary. So totally understand, but that's why you're probably getting that. So
I understood. I don't think anybody thinks that Frederick County has an extra $77 million laying around. And we would try to work this out, right? If you pass this bill, and I hope you will, then we'd be in negotiations where the bottom couldn't be below 25. Right.
Thank you, Delegate. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, that ends the bill hearing on House Bill 1205. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Our final bill of the day is House Bill 1368. Delegate Rosenberg. And Delegate, I have several witnesses signed up in favor, but if you can call up whichever.
Well, with me is Glenn Grayman, who's the person responsible for this bill.
Perfect. Please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Ways and Means Committee. We are here today, I am here today with this legislation because Glenn Grayman called me this summer and said that his daughter, Shifra, had not been receiving all of the assistance that had been agreed to that was a part of her IEP. And he said to me, how can you address this problem? I said, I can put in a bill. And that's what House Bill 1368 is all about. It would require that a school system do what it should already be doing, and that is notify a parent or guardian when services have, meetings, so on, have not been provided, services have been missed with a child regarding his or her IEP. The bill would mandate that there be what services, within 3 days, what services were missed and why, what steps are being taken to correct this failure to provide the services, and then how parents can request a meeting to discuss the services. These are things that should be done already and could have made a difference for Mr. Grayman's daughter, Shifra. I am certainly open, I'm flexible, and it's certainly this committee knows the IEP system better than I do as to what other steps could be mandated in addition to or instead of those I am proposing. But I think what is our clear obligation is to step in, to help a parent step in when services are not being provided. They have no way of knowing that independently, or it's unlikely that they will know that. But we have guaranteed certain services with the IEP. I would think we have an obligation as government to follow through on providing those services. And I would urge favorable action by the committee on this bill, and would now defer to the committee to hear from Mr. Grayman himself.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, esteemed members of the committee. This bill is named in memory of our daughter, who was a Maryland public school system child who received special education services. And she passed away a couple years ago. But we named the bill in honor of her as a contribution to the system and to support the collaboration of school systems with parents. The bill was inspired by a shocking real-life incident. At an annual IEP meeting for our late daughter, Shifra, we found out that the one-to-one aid specified in her IEP had not been provided for the entire school year. Even more astounding was that the school system's own service liaison was also not aware of the situation. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon that parents are not told about serious lapses in the provision of essential special education services to their children. This bill strikes a balance between the necessity to notify parents of such lapses and overburdening a school system with administrative tasks. It does this by establishing a reasonable threshold for a missed service before requiring the school to notify the parent. If a school fails to provide 50% of a service, the school needs to tell the parent as outlined in the bill. I ask you, if your child's classroom was without a teacher for 50% of the day school days, don't you think you should be informed about it? This bill does not penalize the school or create any new rights or grievance procedures. Just tell the parent when there's a problem. Rights to call IEP meetings, ask for compensatory services, or sue the school system are already federally guaranteed. If schools are doing their jobs, it should be very infrequent that a child is not provided 50% of a service. This bill's fiscal note omits some very important information and contains a concerning statement by two large school systems. Claims that implementation of this bill will cost millions of dollars are specious. Schools already have infrastructure to track special ed services and regularly send mandated notices to parents. What's very concerning is for the school system to claim that telling the parents about missed services will cause the schools to incur additional costs for compensatory services and dispute resolution. It's tantamount to saying, don't tell parents that their kids aren't receiving services because the school may incur costs for now having to provide the services that they should have been providing all along. Please support this necessary, well-balanced, and common-sense bill. And please take a look at my wife's and my written testimony. They expand on the reasons for supporting the bill, and we very much appreciate your consideration and your time.
Thank you so much for this bill and for your testimony, and our condolences to you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for the sponsor or the witness? Delegate Pastor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. This isn't a question, so I want to say I would like to talk to them separately because everything you want is already in place, from the caseworker to what's on paper, et cetera, et cetera. So your issue by law is already in place. So there was a violation, massive a violation. I can't even breathe on this, so I would just want to say, I'd like to have that conversation, okay? Isn't that so? Well, don't you know that?
We agree. We agree.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we do have a few additional witnesses who signed up to testify on this bill. Brittany Askin, Logan Ewing, and Elena Grayman. And these two witnesses can be excused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there someone else?
You can begin.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chair Wilkins, members of the Ways and Means Committee. My name is Logan Ewing. I'm an attorney with Project Teal at Kennedy Krieger Institute. I'm also the co-chair of the Education Advocacy Coalition for Students with Disabilities, also known as the EAC, which is a coalition of nearly 50 organizations and individuals concerned with education policy for students with disabilities in Maryland. We are in strong support of House Bill 1368, which would require parents to get notification when services are missing. IEP services, they play a critical role in supporting students with disabilities. These services can be speech services, physical therapy, occupational therapy, special education, many behavioral therapy. There's so many services that can be an IEP. And once they are in an IEP, the students are entitled to receive those services. As an attorney, just 3 years, almost all of my cases, there are many, many students missing their services, and a lot of the parents don't even know this until we get involved. And we start asking the right questions to the IEP teams. A lot of them don't even know that they can ask for comp ed, and comp ed isn't always, oh, they missed 5 speech therapy services, so we'll give them 5 sessions. A lot of times it's not a 1-for-1, so a lot of times it's, half of that. I had a client who, he had a dedicated nurse, and whenever the nurse would call out, which was like 20 times in 2 months, he would miss his services for the whole day for that. So all his special education services, his OT services, PT services, and the school never informed the parents that they can ask for that to be made up until an attorney got involved. And it shouldn't take an attorney getting involved for parents to know what's happening in school and what they can ask for from the school. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brittany Askin, and I'm a staff attorney at Disability Rights Maryland, here to offer DRM support for House Bill 1368. No parent should be denied a role in making decisions about their child's special education. Meaningful participation by parents is not possible when parents are unaware of what services their children are or are not receiving in school. Providing timely notification of missed services to parents will allow them to address impacts on their child's needs and progress without further unnecessary delays to achieving their annual goals and objectives. When students lose opportunities for academic progress or regress, school systems may be required to provide compensatory education. DRM has a long history of securing these services for students, particularly in Baltimore City during the 28-year Von G systemic special education lawsuit. Within 2 years of settling this lawsuit, city schools amassed a waiting list of thousands of students entitled to compensatory services. To eliminate this backlog, multiple organizations came together to create a summer program for these students offering these services. Despite intensive outreach, a small number of students participated in the program. Many parents did not know that their child had missed services until being informed of the summer offering, which was sometimes years after the initial violation. We learned from this experience that the longer the time period between the remedy and the violation, the less likely it is that children will receive and benefit from compensatory education services. House Bill 1368 ensures that parents receive timely notice of missed services that children are entitled to on their individualized education programs and can exercise the due process rights of them and their children. For these reasons, DRM supports House Bill 1368, and we refer you to our written testimony for additional information, and I'm happy to address any questions you may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Calling one more time, Elena Grayman. Okay, doesn't look like there's anyone else here, but just to check. All right, well, if there are not any more questions, colleagues, thank you again to this panel of witnesses. Thank you, Delegate, for the bill. And that ends the bill hearing on House Bill 1368. Thank you.